Well, three. Honestly, I feel like a lot of it is a lack of character, and we're trying to build that character right now. So it takes a little bit of time to understand what exactly we want to do, but I feel like we're trying too hard to be last year's Fnatic, and the meta shifted, the competition is stronger, and we're just not as good right now as we were back then. So it feels like we're not having our eyes set on winning right now, but we're trying really hard to win in the long run. And I don't know if that's the right call or not, but it's the decision we made. And whether we'll stick to it or not, I can't tell you. I don't know. I think it's a bit of a rough start, like you said, I guess. And we're just trying to find our way, our place here first. It's difficult to understand what exactly went wrong. I think a lot of things went wrong, and I honestly think that people overreacted, saying the 2 games against SK were lost because, honestly, in my eyes at least, both games were winnable. And maybe people will say they're always winnable, but there's memorable moments in my mind where I could pinpoint this is where we win, or this is where we are actually advantaged and should be winning, but we just drop the ball and mess up. And then the game against Origin, I think the same happens, where we're advantaged or at least have a good chance at performing, but we end up not doing that. And it might be because of nerves, because we feel too much pressure from what happened after finals. I'm not sure. It's difficult to say. I just think that right now Fnatic is lacking character, which is partially because Caps left. I think he brought a certain amount of identity to the team, and we need to find Nemesis, his comfort zone, and let him show his character so that we can rebuild that Fnatic that people were used to seeing. Because it doesn't feel like we are what we used to be. Yeah, I mean, apparently Fnatic always has a rough start, but to me that doesn't really matter. I think we all had the intention of coming into this week and winning, obviously. Yeah, I'm not sure. It just feels like the past few days something just went missing, even though our practice was actually relatively good. I'm not sure. It just feels like the games are really, really tough, both to play and just to be a part of. I'm not sure. It could be team energy, it could be draft, it could be a multitude of things, but honestly, all in all, I think players have to take responsibility that we're not performing well enough, because honestly, we're not. So I don't think there's any point of trying to make up arguments of why we're doing poorly or whatever. I just think at the end of the day, when we're loading into that loading screen, we should be the ones able to set up the game to win, or at least create situations where it looks winnable. And we kind of have. But even so, it just fell apart very quickly after, which is why I feel like a lot of people are saying that we're just really bad. Which, honestly, I can't say no to. But yeah, I think it looks worse than it is. That's for sure. At least people are making it sound worse than it is. Whether it is worse than it is or not, I guess we'll have to see. So honestly, most of us were fairly relieved because I'm just gonna throw this out there because I feel like it's necessary to be said. But I think there was a fight where latency stopped me from actually winning the fight. We had packet loss, or at least it felt like packet loss. I'm not sure what exactly it was, and it stopped me from following Corky's flash and killing him. And I actually think this would have been a pretty big turning point considering the gold bounty system, right? So honestly, like that actually influenced the game. Which is why I understood why they remade. But in the same vein, I understand that a lot of people thought the game was lost as soon as, the second pause came in where we lost the second fight. Because again, the 2 fights that we did lose, they were pretty much the nail in the coffin for us. But why we lost those fights, honestly, at least for me, I'm not going to blame it on latency. But it had influence on the game. Honestly, I think it's relatively the same. I was always prepared to be on stage starting, but it's still it was still nice to know someone had your back in case you didn't feel up to the match, or you know, yeah, it was nice having Soaz to back me up. And I'm not gonna say I miss it because it's nice being the starter, but I think it's too much different of a meta and everything to really appreciate having a substitute or not, because right now I think it's very straightforward. Yeah, I think might sound strange, but I don't really mind having a like sharing a position until it's playoffs, if that makes sense. Because I think in a best of 5 is where I can shine and really start using my champion pool to my advantage. Whereas in a best of 1, it feels like oftentimes you come to the conclusion that you don't really want to risk anything in a best of 1, right? Like, why would I pick this champion in the best of 1 or whatever like that? So, just hard to say.